We need to have ourselves a little chat. Something unfortunate has come up, folks. Something very unfortunate. We'll get into that here in a minute. I've been saying for a very, very long time that Mussolini has often been quoted to say, and there's more to the quote, but the most base part of it, and the part that's important for us today, is fascism is the merger of state and corporate power. When the state uses its leverage over corporations to enact certain state prerogatives that they couldn't enact themselves through legislation or law. And today we had a dump of some documents from Elon. And there's been a lot more analysis. And so, folks, I want you to keep this in mind, that Benito Mussolini, a guy who actually ran a fascist government, defined fascism as the merger of state and corporate power. The merger of state and corporate power. This isn't just every time that a state and a corporation talk to each other or have some sort of collaboration. This is not every time the state and corporations have any shape, form, or figure of collaboration. That's kind of like when folks say that, like, any form, and it's folks on the left and sometimes even folks on the right will say that any form of collaboration or interaction between the state and a corporation is socialism. I'm not saying that for fascism either. I'm talking about the merger of those powers to carry out state prerogatives that it could not otherwise get pulled off. We are now seeing, it's now for all to see, the emperor now wears no clothes. We now have the proof. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, it's not a big deal, or we already knew that, but this is a big deal. This is almost up there with when Snowden revealed that, yes, the U.S. government is spying on all of its citizens. So we're going to go through this a little bit together, folks. So join me on this journey. This is from Matt Tabbi. Matt Tabbi. Thread, The Twitter Files. 1. What you're about to read is the first installment in a series based upon thousands of internal documents obtained by sources at Twitter. 3. The Twitter Files tell an incredible story from inside one of the world's largest and most influential social media platforms. It's a Frankensteinian tale of a human-built mechanism grown out of the control of its designer. 4. Twitter in its conception was a brilliant tool for enabling instant mass communication, making a true real-time global conversation possible for the first time. 5. In an early conception, Twitter more than lived up to its mission statement, giving people, quote, the power to create and share ideas and information instantly without barriers. Boy, those were the day. That was the day, right? Those were the days. So we continue. 6. As time progressed, however, the company was slowly forced to add those barriers. Some of the first tools for controlling speech were designed to combat the likes of spam and financial fraudsters. 7. Slowly over time, Twitter staff and executives began to find more and more uses for these tools. Outsiders began petitioning the company to manipulate speech as well. First a little, then more often, then constantly. 8. By 2020, there we go. Requests from connected actors to delete tweets were routine. One executive would write to another, quote, more to review from the Biden team, end quote. The reply would be back, quote, handled. And here you go. Here's an image of that. Let me just blow that up big for you, as big as I can get it. And so there's a picture of October 24th, 2020, more to review from the Biden team. So right before the 2020 election. 9. Celebrities and unknowns alike could be removed or reviewed at the behest of a political party. Um, and so here's one from the DNC. It says 10. Both parties had access to these tools. For instance, in 2020, requests from both the Trump White House and Biden campaign were received and honored. However, 11, the system wasn't balanced. It was based on contacts because Twitter was and is overwhelmingly staffed by people of one political orientation. There were more channels, more ways to complain open to the left, well, Democrats, than the right. And so here's contributions by party recipients. And there you go. So seems to be quite a bit more to Democrats and Republicans. Going to just go ahead and say that's a lot. That's 295,000 to 11,000 2018. And then 2022, $451 contributed. So there's a bit of a discrepancy there. I think that's fair to say. All right, we move on. 12. The resulting slant in content moderation decisions is visible in the documents you're about to read. However, it's also the assessment of multiple current and former high-level executives. Okay, there was more throat clearing about the process, but screw it. Let's jump forward. 16. The Twitter files. Part 1. How and why Twitter blocked the Hunter Biden laptop story. 17. On October 14th, 2020, the New York Post published Biden's secret emails, an expose based on the contents of Hunter Biden's abandoned laptop. 16. Twitter took extraordinary steps to suppress the story, removing links and posting warnings that it may be, quote, unsafe. They even blocked its transmission via direct message, a tool hitherto reserved for extreme cases. Let me read that again. Twitter took extraordinary steps to suppress the story, removing links and posting warnings that it may be, quote, unsafe. They even blocked its transmission via direct message. Yeah, folks, this is the kind of instance where Twitter now gets to decide what's best for you to not only think about, but to discuss. That's horrible. 19. White House spokeswoman Kellyanne McEnany was locked out of her account for tweeting about the story, prompting a furious letter from Trump campaign staff Mike Hahn, who said at least pretend to care for the next 20 days. Which is, yeah, that's fair. 20. This led public policy executive Caroline Storm to send out a polite what the fuck query. Several employees noted that there was tension between the comms policy teams, who had little less control over moderation, and the safety trust teams. Let's take a look. Hi, team. Are you able to take a closer look here? Thank you. So, all right. 21. Storm's note returned the answer that the laptop story had been removed for violation of the company's hacked materials policy. Thanks for reaching out to us. Per checking, the user was bounced by site integrity for violating our hacked materials policy, adding them here for further insight and guidance. Although several sources 22. Although several sources recalled hearing about a, quote, general, unquote, end quote, warning from federal law enforcement about that summer about possible foreign hacks, there's no evidence that I've seen of any government involvement in the laptop story. In fact, that might have been the problem. 23. The decision was made at the highest levels of the company, but without the knowledge of CEO Jack Dorsey, with former head of legal policy and trust Vijaya Gadde playing a key role. Is anyone surprised? 24. Quote, they just freelanced it, end quote, is how one former employee characterized the decision. Quote, hacking was the excuse, but within a few hours, pretty much everyone realized that wasn't going to hold, but no one had the guts to reverse it. Wow. 25. You can see the confusion in the following lengthy exchange, which ends up including Gaddy and former Trust and Safety Chief Yoel Roth. Comms and official Trenton Kennedy writes, I'm suggesting the to I'm okay. I'm struggling to understand the policy basis for making this as unsafe. Let's see. Trenton Kennedy, I'm struggling to understand the policy basis for making this as for marking this as unsafe, and I think the best explainability agreement for this externally would be that we're waiting to understand if this story is a result of hacked material. We'll face hard questions on this if we don't have some kind of solid reasoning for marking the link unsafe. Kate, will we also mark similar stories unsafe? So yeah, there's some serious questions here. 26. By this point, quote, everyone knew this was fucked, said one former employee, but the response was essentially to err on the side of continuing to err. 27. Former VP of Global Comms Brandon Borman asked, can we truthfully claim this is part of the policy? 26, to which former Deputy General Counsel Jim Baker again seemed to advise staying the non-course because caution is warranted. 29, a fundamental problem with tech companies and content moderation. Many people in charge of speech care little about speech and have been told the basics by outsiders. To wit, 30. In one humorous exchange on day one, Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna reached out to Gaddy to gently suggest she hop on the phone to talk about the, quote, backlash arse re-speech, end quote. Khanna was the only Democratic official I could find the files to express concern. Gaddy replies quickly, immediately diving into the weeds of the Twitter policy, unaware Khanna is more worried about the Bill of Rights. This is funny. 32. Khanna tries to reroute the conversation to the First Amendment, mention of which is generally hard to find in the files. 33. Within a day, head of public policy Lauren Culbertson receives a ghastly letter-report from Carl Szabo of the research from NetChoice, which had already polled 12 members of Congress, 9 R's and 3 Democrats from, quote, the House Judiciary Committee to Rep. Judy Chu's office. And so, folks, this is less than good. This is way less than good. This is basically, it looks like that lawyer lady, Gaddy, I forget her name, Vijaya, the one that went with Jack Dorsey on Joe Rogan. Looks like she's got some splaining to do. Looks like she's kind of the person that made this decision to just say, fuck Trump. Like, if I'm just going to be perfectly square with you, that's how it kind of looks. Like, maybe more will come out in the future, but as it looks right now on December 2nd, this year of our Lord 2022, it's kind of looking like she spearheaded the fuck Trump idea in the Twitter office. Like, that's just kind of how it looks from here, folks. Now, it's also looking like she's been having a lot of communications with the Biden administration and the Biden White House and even the Biden campaign before he was even elected. It looks like, if not her, people very close to the moderation of Twitter. So I want you to remember what I said at the beginning here, folks, that fascism is the merger of state and corporate power. When they can't legally silence someone through legislative means, through legal means, they use leverage over corporations. That's the world we're heading to, folks. That is just the beginning, just a little scratch of the surface of the leaks of the 2020 election decisions. I'm sure we're going to get some interesting ones from 2022 before too long here. But to me, I have always been a believer that sunlight is the best disinfectant, and that if you think an idea is bad, you should bring it to light and give it its full due. That's my belief anyways. I've always thought that people who need to run to the censors, it's kind of a confession that their ideas aren't very good. Like, that's just how it's always been for me. Anyways, call me crazy, but I believe that's really the only way that you can look at the world.